Good evening, city of New Bedford and surrounding areas. This is your two favorite sports people here on a Thursday night at Straight to the Point Sports. D Con, what's going on?
What up, everybody? What's going on, Steve? How you doing, brother?
Oh man, right in the nitty gritty part of the NFL playoffs, and
There's still NFL going on?
well, for not for us no more. You know, it kind of sucks that I can't come in looking forward to get on the lines. You can't say nothing about the Vikings, but
No.
man, let's start off with that game, man. That was a big surprise. I really had your guys coming out of the NFC and was kind of hoping, they did. But what went wrong last week?
Honestly, from the game that I watched, I don't think Washington could do nothing wrong. It seemed like everything they did wrong.
And I think they thought because they were playing with house money, there was lower pressure on. Detroit was expected to win, so they were expected. And I think Washington was just loose.
They played, like I said, they played a perfect game, in my opinion. They didn't punt not once.
Nope. And Jaden Daniels.
Oh wait, no, they punted. I think they punted once maybe, but
they were rolling for the most part. But
Daniels looked like a seasoned vet out there.
I am so impressed with the poise and composure that this young man has shown because he's a rookie. And he's the one that's supposed to play nervous. But even when they interviewed him at the end of the game, he's like, it's just fun. I just go out there and play. I don't think about pressure. I just think about I'm having fun and I'm trying to do the best I can. And that really helped him because the way he ran that offense, picked and choose when he had a scramble, stayed in the pocket. He didn't just take off. He stayed in the pocket, checked down, his number one and number two primary receivers. They ran the ball pretty good too. Brian Robinson ran the ball pretty good. Eckler caught the ball. And McLaurin had a pretty good game too. But man, to go into Detroit and play that well and be able to take out the Lions, that was a huge accomplishment by the Washington Commanders. So what else you want to add to that, man? Like in your opinion, from your team's perspective, what could you guys have done better?
Limit our turnovers.
But I know it wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs' fault.
No.
That guy, he's another one that he did everything possible to.
Could have probably gave him the ball a little bit more, but
I was a little nervous with Mr. Goff because every once in a while, he has all the weapons and he's been managing it. And he's been playing pretty good. Similar to when I felt we regressed with Donald the first week in the playoffs, I just thought Goff didn't have one of his best efforts. I felt like he struggled a little bit. And the passing game never got to the level it usually gets.
No. I don't know. St. Brown had a good game, passing wise.
But how many times did they go to him? Like I felt like they could have gone to him more. They could have gone to Laporta more. And then the trick plays kind of backed out. The Jameson Williams.
I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
Because whenever you put the hands in a non-quarterback for an option to throw, they want to throw. They almost want to force, and he read it wrong. He forced it.
If anything, if you're going to throw that, you throw that out of bounds.
And then didn't he have another play where he messed up? He did something else.
He goes on one of the interceptions. He was supposed to go long. He cut it in. Goff was throwing it long. So it is. Stuff like that happens.
How about game plan wise? Were you happy with the game plan that Coach was?
I thought it was a well coached game plan, but just didn't put it together. We scored 33 points. That's a lot of points.
And I think one of your cornerbacks went down early, the one that was shutting down Jefferson, and that was huge because he was the guy that was going to shadow Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I wouldn't say shut him down, but he would.
But he would have made life a lot more difficult.
Definitely, and he went down like the first quarter. So that didn't help, but it's that next man up mentality that I've been speaking all year long. This game it came back and bit us in the ass.
Because I don't know if I would so much say it was the defense because of the untimely turnovers that put your defense in bad situations, and then it looks like they gave up 33 points, but you got a wide receiver throwing
We threw a pick six too.
Yeah,
that didn't help. But, hey, back to the drawing board. See you next year.
All right, so now if you look at the other game with Philly and the Giants, that game, and Philly and Who did Philly play? The Rams.
Oh, that was
And I thought, the the West Coast team traveling, and then the cold weather. The Rams, they put up a fight,
they showed it, that front line, that D line.
man. And them boys are all young. If they ever put like a secondary behind it or something like that, or I think their offense is pretty much set. They could use an offensive lineman, but man, that front four with all those young boys, the last 2 years of the draft, they've gotten two people in each year that have become contributing starters, and they're putting pressure. But once again, an old Achilles heel that happened to them when they played in regular season. Who killed them?
Mr.
Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, he had 205 rushing yards in the first game.
He had two big long runs, one for like 62 and one for 49. It wasn't like Philly's offense was going crazy against. It was like a bunch of field goals and a low scoring game. When Philly scored, it was the quick strike and bad weather. And it was like, okay, nip and tuck, nip and tuck, nip and tuck. Boom, Saquon's gone. Nip and tuck, field goal, field goal, field goal. Saquon's gone. But then the game was back and forth. Philly prevailed, but we saw Mr. Hurts come up lame again in the third quarter. He came back in the fourth quarter, but for all intents and purposes, he was pretty ineffective. He only threw the ball 3 times. Everything was short stuff. And he hasn't fully practiced yet. I saw highlights of him today, and he was very ginger and not really.
I tell you what, I think if Washington plays the same way they played Saturday, they're gonna have.
I don't think they're gonna be intimidated because they went into a tough place to win in Detroit. The only difference is
the weather.
Yeah, but Washington and Baltimore aren't that far apart. I mean, Washington and Philly aren't that far apart, so they should have similar weather.
They play in that type of weather,
so
it's not like they're a dome team.
So now we see that set up in the NFC game. So give us your take on how you see that playing out. Like,
I think Philly's got a little bit too much in the tank for Washington, but I would like to see Washington pull that out.
See, that defensive line that we just talked about might get neutralized a little bit because they have to be so worried about the run. When you got Saquon back there.
Yeah, but we really wasn't talking about Washington D-line.
They put pressure on the passing game, but now they can't pin their ears back and rush because the rush they're gonna get attacked with the running game, not the passing game. Like,
but if that's their Achilles heel. Their Achilles heel on defense is give them rushing yards.
It's not the guy you want to have an Achilles heel.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
So what does Washington have to do? What's the key to them? Like, is it just neutralizing the rushing game? Because I don't know the passing game is going to be effective.
It has to. You have to key on the running game if you're Washington.
So put a spy on Barkley the whole game. Don't let him get untracked. I'm not sure if I checked the weather, but I know it's going to be cold. I don't know if it's going to be messy.
My thing is the way Hurts been playing. I'm not worried. I wouldn't really be too worried about him beating you over the top because his game has been off. I'm
not even sure he's going to be effective because of his injury. If he can't be mobile and he forces himself to play, that could hurt him. If he doesn't have the ability to keep the defense honest with the passing game, they'll just load up on Barkley, and they might have to bring in a Pickett or Kenny Pickett is their backup, right? Yeah, but they won with him. The last game they played the Giants, it was the Giants, but when he had to come in for Hurts, he was adequate. I think that's the 3:00 game, and then the Kansas City, the AFC game is the late game. It's 3:00 and 6:30 or something.
So at 3, it's gonna be 39 degrees.
Oh, that's warm.
Light snow in the morning, so that will already.
But the field won't be messy like it was in Philly last week. Nope. Last week, the way Saquon ran in those conditions, I was really impressed because it was slippery with snow on the ground from the first minute of play.
39 degrees.
So that will probably benefit Washington even more because 39, they can play in 39's football weather. That's not an disadvantage one way or the other.
Give us 39 out here.
We're not seeing 39 right now. Yeah. So how close of a game do you see? Like, is this gonna?
I think it'll be a 10-point game.
Philly?
No.
You think Washington will win by 10 on the road?
I think Philly's gonna. I think in my heart it says Philly,
Philly's defense is healthy and they're playing pretty good too. So
and that offensive line is tough. They have a tough offensive line.
I can see the Commanders keeping it close, but the inexperience to close it out at the end might come into play here because they just never been in that big of a moment. I think that might catch up to them this week if the game's close and it comes down. They played mistake-free football. They won, what, 7 in a row?
Something like that.
Regular season and into the playoffs. And, I mean, I wasn't surprised with their first-round victory over Tampa Bay because I thought they were the better team anyway. I thought any team that came out of it, but they looked really good against them. They looked great against you guys. And now with the weather being 49 degrees, I don't think – 39, there won't be any disadvantage where – but I think Washington's running game, they have to get the contribution they got from their running backs. Eckler looked good. Robinson looked good. And having Eckler out of the backfield is a whole nother weapon because, remember, he was hurt toward the end of the season. He only came back the Tampa Bay game. So if Robinson can run consistent and you don't force Daniels to be in a passing situation all the time, that might be enough to keep Philly off balance.
What hurts Philly is no Graham. Graham is a big part of that defense.
And he's gone, Brandon Graham, right?
Yeah. He's been gone for a while, but he's a big part of that defense. What? Yeah, who are you talking about, Paul? Your team sucked. So you shouldn't even be making any comments on the football part aspect right now. But without Graham, that defense is put at a
little bit of a disadvantage because we know what he brings to the table. So
obviously they get the run stoppers in the middle with the big guy.
Oh, Jalen Carter, he's only in his second year. He's had a crazy year this year.
Right now. But with Daniel's athletic ability, I think he'll be able to get away.
I think as long as Daniels he's not forced to run a lot and he avoids a big hit.
Yeah.
So far, he's taken what they've given him. He hasn't gotten greedy. He gets down or gets out of bounds. That's going to be critical. I mean, because they have to keep him healthy, to do what the Commanders do. I give him all the chance in the world of keeping this game close. I just think at the end, but we don't know what's going to happen with Hurts. But
yeah, he's the big question mark.
I'm going to say Philly has enough weapons to squeak it out at home. Squeak it out. But I wouldn't be mad if the Commanders won.
I ain't gonna lie.
So, are y'all taking the Commanders in that one?
No,
I'm reluctantly taking Philly.
But my mind says Philly. My heart says Philly.
I think I feel the same way. That's not right, man. We didn't get to argue about that. But I feel exactly the same way. James Levac, what's up? Thanks for tuning in, my man. He'll be one of the sponsors for the comedy show coming up. Nice. Yeah. Financial guru there, giving everybody the breakdown, little nuggets people need and financial planning and, how to make your money do the most it can do for you. So,
you know what, Paul, I'm not even going to answer you. Are you going to feed into your little games? But your boy's been home. It's not early. Your boy's been home, so we're going to leave that alone.
Might have been getting ready to go to the Super Bowl, look at, the Senior Bowl, get ready to look at those potential draft picks. So we switch things over to the AFC.
All right. This is the
man.
This is very interesting.
Those games in the AFC. Which one you want to start off with?
Start with the KC.
All right. KC and Houston was closer than I thought.
Houston.
I was rooting for the Texans, man. They're my AFC team. I was like, man, I wanted to see them win, but that's a big ask to go into KC.
But they might have put a blueprint out for Buffalo,
which is the pressure they put on Mahomes.
Yeah, make him beat you. Not make him beat you, because he can't beat you. But it's all about how his receivers play.
And I didn't see them get the KC they didn't get the contribution in the running game from Pacheco or Kareem Hunt. So they put a lot of pressure to have Mahomes make things happen, which he's capable of doing. But you didn't have to respect the running game in that game. And Houston did a really good job. The defensive coordinator did a good job of coming at Mahomes with different looks. They contained the running game because it never got off ground, and they never let him They never let Mahomes get into a rhythm. He had to earn everything he got. But didn't Kelsey have a decent game? That was his only receiver.
That's the only person that had a good game.
Yeah, we're getting used to seeing that. And I didn't see too much from DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy. It was just Kelsey. And if it's a one-man show coming up against Buffalo, that's right. That's going to be a problem because if you got to get some help from the running game or your outside receivers.
And I know it's regular season, but Buffalo gave it. Buffalo put it on them in the regular season, so they have the confidence. But the only thing is, if I'm not mistaken, the head-to-head with Buffalo and
Kansas City,
the quarterbacks.
He hasn't beaten.
One's 3-0 in the regular season, and the other one's 3-0 in the postseason.
Well, we all know it only matters in the postseason. So
let's see what happens.
Last year they met a round before this. This year they're meeting in the AFC Championship. So KC advances a little harder than they thought. They're pretty healthy. They shouldn't have too many excuses going into it. But let's retract back to that previous game, the Baltimore-Buffalo game. What's your take on how that game played out, and why did Buffalo come out on top? Because I know I got my thoughts on why. The same
Why
story.
Did Buffalo come out on top? Simple mistakes.
And I think Baltimore abandoned the running game again when you had Henry, who was doing good, and then you didn't use him the whole fourth quarter. It wasn't like, I know when the game plan, when they get behind and they have to play catch up, but they were only one score behind or 8 points behind, one possession. Henry had 59 yards in the third quarter. He was starting to roll. You didn't have to score two touchdowns. You weren't down two touchdowns. Why did you abandon the run? That's the whole reason you went out and got Derrick Henry. Yeah. And then you put the Cadillac in the garage. Took the snow tires off, put them in the garage. I'm like, hey, this is what's killing them.
They said, hey, go put your feet up.
Hey, go relax. We'll call you when you need you.
We'll use you next year.
Oh, my God. I was so frustrated because I can't recall how many times in conversation that we've had or other of our friends, and we're like, Baltimore always has a high-rated running game, and then they abandon it during the playoffs. And that's not Lamar's strong suit.
And normally they don't have Lamar in the first. He's usually hurt by now.
Well, you know who they didn't have? Zay Flowers. Yeah. Likely played out. The double combination thing was good until the end of the game. And Mr. Reliable, I felt so bad the way that game ended because they were coming back. They were driving. The next to last possession, they get all the way down, and Mark Andrews gets strip searched. Now, that happens.
That's a tough one right there because the dude, he didn't
right.
He just
and that
lucky.
I wouldn't mention that except the next time down, it was also Mark Andrews. So like people talked about the tight end for Dallas back in the day. It was a Jackie Smith or whatever his name was. I forgot his name, but he dropped a touchdown in the end zone. I felt like that was as close to that moment as I've seen when Andrews dropped the 2-point conversion. I mean, he was wide open. I don't know what went wrong. He was trying to catch it with his hands. Maybe he needed to get it closer to his body.
It looked like he was trying to catch it and fall back at the same time.
Got to catch the ball before you do anything else.
And he took his eyes off the ball.
I think, when sometimes you're wide open and the ball seems like it takes forever to get to you, and you're like, I think he, I don't know, like he thought about it too much on the way there. Like he
was wide open.
But when you combine both, that play by itself would have been hard enough to deal with. But because the previous possession, he was also the guy that caught the fumble was caused by. 2 trips in a row where they were driving, the same guy was the one that gave up the ball or made the mistake.
You ain't lying, Willie. You ain't lying. Sometimes the easy ones are the hardest to catch.
And that was the point I was trying to make. Like, He was wide open. I don't know if something was going through his head. It probably looked like it took forever for the ball to get to him, and it just a lack of concentration at the end, and he probably couldn't believe he dropped it. Now, the conditions weren't the greatest.
No, but
that ball had to feel like a piece of ice, but he was catching everything else.
Them balls are warm. They keep them balls. They don't play with the same ball all the time. Oh, wait. Willie Ford, what's up, man? Representing the ass, just so you know, bro. But, yeah, I don't know, man. that's a tough pill to swallow.
Since we got Willie on, Mr. Ford, do you think Baltimore made a mistake by abandoning the running game in the fourth quarter? Like, did they contribute to their own demise, or what was your take on why Baltimore didn't get over the hump this game? I mean, those plays with Andrews were tough, but I think even before that, they wouldn't have been in that position.
You know it, cousin. I don't know, man. That's a tough pill to swallow for Mr. Henry or Mr. Andrews. That's a back to back.
Yeah, man. And he just broke his silence today. It took him till today to speak to the media. And they said he was beside himself. He said it really messed with his mental psyche where he had to be alone. You know, like he just kept playing it back in his head. He was trying to do stuff to keep busy, but it's hard to get that out of you. All right, it's the same story with Baltimore every year. They go, from what got him there. And by what got him there, I'm assuming you're talking about the running game, which was the whole reason they went out and got King Henry.
Yeah.
It was too early to abandon. He was getting chunk yardage. When's he most effective? As the game goes on. And he starts wearing down. He gets into a rhythm. You let him get into a rhythm and then tell him go take a seat. You know? Now, his backup was not doing that bad, but he's not King Henry.
Yeah. He was getting a lot of big chunks.
Yeah.
Hill.
Yeah. Justice Hill was doing all right. But I just felt like Henry was off the field and not involved in the offense way too much.
I wonder if he had an injury that nobody knew about.
Well, it's been 4 days now and nothing's come out. Yeah. And I know he probably wouldn't want to use it as an excuse, but I would like to have seen what would have happened because that would have kept their offense on the field more. Yeah. Buffalo would have had one less possession. And I think they could have drove down, but they thought they needed to score too quick. They could have got the way Henry was running, they could have got down the field in a decent amount of time.
You have a 6'2", 230-pound running back.
And that's my point.
Wants to tackle in the cold.
Yep.
We had him the ball.
I just want to make sure I'm not going crazy because I thought that was obvious as hell.
Sure.
Everybody sees the same thing. I thought by getting Henry, they eliminated that problem. They were given the golden goose, and they just let it go by the wayside. So a lot of people put the monkey on Lamar's back about not winning the big game. Did you see anything wrong with the way he played, or was it the way that the game calling, like getting Henry out of the game? Could Lamar have done anything different? Yeah, was that B-Mag saying 3 years? Yeah. And I could almost accept it years in the past because they didn't have a bell cow like Henry. That was the whole point of getting him. So that's on Harbaugh to me. Or whoever, if Harbaugh wasn't calling the plays, their offensive coordinator, like that don't make sense to nobody.
Maybe they just wanted to put the ball in Jackson's hands because he was considered an MVP candidate.
Lamar had a crucial fumble. He did.
Yeah, he did. He tried to break out of a sack. He turned, lost the ball. Buffalo picked it up.
All right. So it wasn't Mr. Andrews by himself. Andrews had 2 turnovers. Well, Lamar, was it in the fourth quarter? For some reason, I'm drawing a blank on his turnover.
It wasn't.
Paul, when did that turnover happen?
But it was a big one because Buffalo ended up scoring on it. And I believe he threw a pick too. I want to say there was 4 big turnovers.
Third quarter.
I want to say there was four turnovers on Buffalo. I'm not positive.
I think that's when they might have went down by 2 scores, and they came back and scored. But that's when they started abandoning when they went into the fourth quarter. So that might have happened middle of the third quarter, and Buffalo might have went up by more than 1 score at the time, and that's when the panic button got hit. That's when they figured they had to start throwing the ball. They came back down and got some points back, but for the life of me, they got to reevaluate how they approach the game. Like, what's the point of getting King Henry if you're not gonna, not let him do his thing? So outside, I don't put as much onus on Lamar losing the game. I'm trying to remember if there was an interception or not, but the fumble and the 2 turnovers. Well, the turnover with Andrews and then the drop 2-point pass.
See if I can see if there was any. He did have an INT. I don't know when it was, but he threw an INT. Derrick Henry was 16 for 84 with a touchdown.
Yeah, and 59 of those were in the third quarter. He was, like we said earlier, nobody wants to have to hit a 6'3", 230-pound guy after he's been running you over all game, and that field is cold and your body's aching, you're freezing. Damn, I got to hit this guy again. Like, every time he comes, that's, you're losing morale. Like, I don't want to have to hit this guy again.
Yeah,
and then you made it easy for him by taking him out. Like, oh, we don't have to worry. He's not there.
Baltimore didn't punt at all either. No punts for Baltimore. I can't. So don't tell me one more.
All right, Lamar had the turnover in the third. The interception was in the second quarter. Andrews had the fumble in the third when Baltimore could have gone ahead. Oh, by 3, and instead they went down by 10. Yeah, that was a big swing right there because you could have been on top. You could have taken a lead and played from ahead, which would have been conducive to using D. Henry. But when you don't get ahead, I think that's when Baltimore felt like they still had they chose the pass more than continue with D. Henry because they were behind after that. That's a good point because that momentum, if they would have got ahead, they definitely would have kept running the ball because they wouldn't have felt the pressure to score.
Yeah, they would have
been like just preserve.
They would have ran off the clock.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I felt the pass to Andrews should have had more zip on it. Lamar's fumble didn't result in points. Paul, it doesn't matter. The ball was in his hand, whether it had zip on it or not. It was a cold day, hot, like catching a brick of ice. But
there's no brick of ice, bro. Some balls aren't like that. I'm trying to tell you something, bro. Even in high school,
they don't get wet. They don't get cold. Or they're changing them so often. Yeah, okay.
Every 2 plays, if not every play.
Just a hard way to accept defeat. Baltimore was so close. And I think they lost the game rather than Buffalo won the game. Because we're looking at the 2 plays that we mentioned with Andrews. But I think the coach's decision not to utilize Derrick Henry was just as big a factor as the 2 plays you want to associate to Mr. Andrews. So at the end of the day, Buffalo moved on. So now we got Buffalo and KC.
The Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. If it's still called Arrowhead Stadium.
I have a big feeling that Buffalo's going to get it done this week.
I think it's the time. Man. But
now I don't know. I didn't check the weather conditions in KC, but it's usually
Brian Mag. Do you count out Mr. Mahomes in this AFC Championship? I know you're big on Mr. Mahomes.
Oh, I wouldn't count him out because he finds a way to win. But if they don't get that running game going, and they just tee off on Mahomes, I mean, Buffalo's defense hasn't been playing bad.
I'll tell you what. The last time Buffalo played KC, their defense was crazy.
And I don't think the weather affects them because they're used to that type of weather or worse in Buffalo. So anything in KC will be an improvement weather-wise. It'll just be the home field noise and stuff like that.
Heel to the no, be back. But Willie Ford says Buffalo's gonna win. I
have that gut feeling.
I'm going with Willie Ford on this one,
and only because not so much the heralded matchup between the quarterbacks, but what Allen can bring to the table because he's effective in the passing game and the running game. So you have to game plan against him for 2 different things.
KC's defense has vastly improved,
right? But then add the fact that James Brooks has been having an underrated year. James Brooks in the running game he's been so. I mean, Cook.
I'm like
James Cook. Yeah. I should know because that's my boy Dalvin's brother.
You had me like what?
Yeah, he's coming out of retirement. I just want to make sure you weren't falling asleep over.
No, hey, they got a 3-headed monster in the backfield.
And the young kid was it Ty Johnson?
Ty Jones?
Not Ty Johnson. I thought. But
yeah, maybe.
But the young kid who's been relieving Cook, he's been having some big plays, when he's just supposed to be giving Cook a spell here and there, and this guy's coming in and ripping off big plays too.
Yeah, like
Jared Ram, what's up, man? Mr. Ramus. So we're talking about people's predictions on Buffalo and KC. Can Buffalo
Ty
finally
Johnson.
get over there? Yeah, Ty Johnson. Yep.
Ray Davis.
Ray Davis. Yeah. So they had a couple of guys that were contributing. So I think Buffalo's running game is going to be so potent they won't have to rely on the passing game as much. Between Allen being another weapon, in the running game, and then the two running backs, they've been pretty effective running the ball, and they have a capable passing game. Like he doesn't have a true number one, but he spreads the ball out to the people. I think Amari Cooper has to come back and be Amari Cooper this game.
Who?
Yeah, that guy.
Who is that?
That guy that's supposed to be their number one receiver.
He had 0 catches.
And that's what concerns me. That's why I brought up his name. Like he's supposed to be the big play number one acquisition.
The last 3 regular season games, or maybe 4 regular season games, he had like maybe a total of 3 catches.
So that's bringing up an interesting scenario.
Amari Cooper, who? Where is Amari Cooper?
I'm going to say whoever plays better between him and DeAndre Hopkins, because he hasn't had that great. Now, they're both supposed to be number ones. They've done it in the past, but they haven't come up big in the playoffs yet. Whichever one of them steps up and helps their quarterback more swings the pendulum of the momentum to that team. So I'm looking to see if either Hopkins or Cooper can break out of their funk and contribute and give their quarterbacks a better chance to win. Those quarterbacks are going to do everything possible in their power to win, but they're going to need a little help from somewhere.
Yeah.
And in Kansas City, I think their running game better show up too. I know Pacheco came back from being hurt. Kareem Hunt was playing well in his absence, but since he came back, it's like kind of, I'm not the main bell cow no more. I don't know, how much my usage is going to be, so it's hard for him to get into a rhythm. But they're going to need to get their running game going.
This was KC's running game. Kareem Hunt, 8 carries, 44 yards. Isaiah Pacheco, 5 carries, 18 yards.
That's not enough.
Patrick Mahomes, 7 carries, 14 yards.
That's not enough. That's no contribution from everything was Kelsey, but the Texans didn't take Kelsey away. Buffalo has to take Kelsey out and say, one of these other guys that we're talking about are going to have to beat us.
Kelsey, 7 for 117 and 1 touchdown. Worthy, 5 for 45. No Gray, 3 for 13.
Wait a minute, what's Brian saying here? If Buffalo doesn't put them away early, it's the ghost of the pack. Yeah, I know. If Kansas City gets ahead, that doubt's going to creep in. Don't let the game be close because Mahomes. Yeah, we can't put Mahomes. He's the closest thing I've seen to Brady. Don't give them a chance to win. I don't care if there's. We've seen it with 11 seconds on the clock when they came back.
13.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like you have to step on.
19.
It was something crazy. They had that long pass to Hill, and then the next pass to Kelsey, and then they were in the end zone, and it was like 3 plays. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like they came back with that little time.
That one was a field goal to put it into overtime.
Yeah, but there was very little time. But they found a way to do what they had to do to pull out that victory. You can't give Mahomes the chance to win the game because I think he thrives in that situation. Like Brian was making, if Buffalo can be ahead going into the fourth quarter and Mahomes is playing comeback, they're in a lot better situation.
So basically, what Buffalo has to do is.
I think they got to be ahead.
They have to
Kelsey.
They have to control the ball.
Play mistake free.
Limit your turnovers. Limit your mistakes, I should say, and just keep scoring. Any chance you have, a touchdown, field goal, any chance you have, keep scoring.
They shouldn't be intimidated by the moment because they've been in this scenario so many times. They know what Kansas City's going to do. Kansas City knows what what Buffalo's going to do.
Yeah.
So can't bet against Mahomes. I get it, and that's why I'm saying Buffalo has to come out with the knockout punch early. Like they have to come out swinging and get ahead and kind of take some of that momentum away from Kansas and make KC play from behind. Don't let KC have the lead going into the fourth quarter where they'll salt the game away and just do enough to keep your offense off the field. And don't give – how many times has Josh Allen lost without being on the field? The coin flip when they had he never got a chance to come out on the field. They scored a touchdown, but he's done everything in his power to win. But he's been the victim of circumstance a few times.
Who is your key player?
I think whichever wide receiver can help their quarterback the most is going to be huge. But with Kansas City, I think it's a double-edged sword because they also have to get some type of running game. I'm going to say the running game in Kansas City is more important than Hopkins contributing. because he can find Worthy, he can find Kelsey, he can find Hunt out of the. But if Hunt and Pacheco don't run the ball to mix it up,
Without a running game.
yeah,
My key, I don't know if it's I'm gonna say key player or key is Oliver on Buffalo's B line.
who amazes me because he's so much smaller than everybody else, and he still outquicks everybody and shows enough strength to.
He's just a disruptor.
Yeah,
The things that dude does is crazy. Like, and it's not like he does it. He does it against good offensive lines.
mm-hmm.
He's just a disruptor. Like that's my guy that I'm going to be watching in that game.
So if Mr. Oliver has a good game and put some pressure, it makes Mahomes get the happy feet, and he has to stop making decisions quicker. Maybe he doesn't have time for Kelsey, but Kelsey doesn't always have to run long routes. So like it seems like every time there's a big play, we know it's going to Kelsey, and they still make it happen. 3rd and 11, and they get 12. You know,
because which I don't understand is if you watch KC play, obviously when there's long situations, their go-to guy is number 87.
No secret.
And if you look and you see when he catches the ball, there's really nobody around him because they're playing the defense is playing a zone.
And he's great against the zone, picking the weak spot.
Finding the zone open spots. And he probably don't even have a regular route. They're probably telling him, hey, go find the spot.
Just go split two defenders.
Go find the spot, and Pat will find you. Because
and they've seen every type of zone or man-to-man defense, but I think you're playing it.
This dude is wide open every single time.
Because he's a great route runner. He understands how to read the defense and where the soft spot is going to be. Maybe they mix it up and they play man-to-man in the big situations because he's not going to beat you with speed.
No.
You know?
He's not. But he seems to, like, literally, when you look at it and he catches the ball, there's nobody next to him.
So what's our take on this, man? What were we predicting?
Buffalo, 36-24.
That high scoring? Is it going to be 39 degrees there, too? That first game surprised me with the weather. I don't know what Kansas City's looking like, but I know the weather's not going to affect Buffalo because they've had the worst weather at home, so that they're used to being in that. That's not like a Miami going there or a Houston going there. That these warm weather teams are kind of shell shocked to have to deal with that as another distraction. I'm going to say I don't think it's going to be that high scoring, but I'm going to say 28-24.
34 degrees.
That's warm enough. It's above freezing. No wind, no rain, no snow on it. Both those teams are capable of playing. The clouds ain't going to hurt neither one of them guys. I expect Josh Allen to come out and play great.
7-mile-an-hour winds.
Nothing. I can fish in that. But I think Josh Allen is going to fall on the sword trying. He's going to do whatever it takes to win. And I think this time he gets over the hump. But a slightly lower scoring game than you predicted, and I'm going to say 28-24, unless there's some turnovers like we saw, like a pick six or somebody runs a kickback or a punt back, something unexpected. But if there's no turnovers that lead to easy points, there's going to be some scoring. But I think I think Buffalo gets over the hump in this one. Well, it's going to be interesting to see.
Buffalo, a rematch, Buffalo-Washington Super Bowl.
Well, we both picked Philly, so we'd have to both be wrong.
I want to be wrong in that one.
I want to be wrong because I like, but, you know, I don't know. I think it depends on Jalen Hurts' health, but I think Philly at home and Washington has overachieved already. They're playing with house money. I think they'll be relaxed, but I think
Derek Demers with the Buffalo chant.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
So we'll see what happens this week. Now, in other news in the NFL, some coaching vacancies have been filled. Which one surprises you the most, if any? Or were they as expected? Like, how about the Patriots thing? We talked a little bit about that. Oh, no, he just got hired last week. We weren't here last week.
Nah,
that was the worst kept secret. Last time we were on, we all said, we know what's going to happen.
But
what about him getting the band back together and bringing in Josh McDaniel. They hired him today.
Yes, I seen that.
So he's good because we know Vrabel is more of a defensive coach and run the ball up the gut type thing. But in the Batman and Robin role, Josh McDaniels has always thrived in this where he doesn't have to be the head guy. If he just has to call the offense, he does a pretty good job, and he'll develop that quarterback. He doesn't have a go-to wide receiver yet. But I think the Patriots are going to do everything for this coaching staff that they didn't do for Mr. Mayo and them. They didn't go out and get him a good free agent. They didn't spend no money last year. They hit with May, but they knew May was going to need, a bunch of help. Offensive line, key weapons. They didn't really have, a way to play better than they did. And I don't think any coach would have had more wins. You look at the year before that, how many wins did the Patriots have Belichick's last year?
Maybe 5.
And if he wanted to come back, there would have been no talk of him getting fired.
I think 5.
Yeah. But had a little bit better weapons than this team had. It's like they played to get a good draft pick this year, and they got a good draft pick, but they used Mayo as the scapegoat. And for those reasons alone, I've lost a lot of respect for Mr. Kraft and the Patriots organization.
They didn't even get the guy.
Because all I can understand that I'm hearing now is there was a lot of turmoil between the players and the coaching staff. Like the people didn't buy into Mayo. He didn't give them like confidence. And he looked a little unsure in the locker room. I can't prove that. That's just hearsay. But maybe the players were chirping in the owner's ear.
How much confidence can he give them if they're not producing?
I think he might have been a victim of his own success, winning some of the games he shouldn't have won, keeping some of these games close, but then not being able to pull it out at the end. So they're saying, well, he didn't make the right decisions at the end, or he cracked under pressure or whatever. Who knows? But he shouldn't have won more games than he won.
No.
And I'm guaranteed he was given the promise, we'll build around you, we'll spend money in free agency. They're going to do everything for Vrabel they didn't do, and then they're going to anoint Vrabel as being like a savior. I don't think the Patriots are going to win more than 1 or 2 more games next year.
Yo, this is the biggest dagger in my side right here. Mr. Randy Butler, congratulations, brother. You were the better team.
Oh,
Saturday.
A heartfelt Washington fan.
Oh yeah, I was giving him shit all week long.
Oh, I saw him letting you know. I saw him letting you know. He said, you came at me hard.
Hey, listen, I give it up.
Washington stood their ground. Congratulations, Mr. Butler, man. It's a good thing to see your team play that well at the expense of D-Con too. That's a double win for you.
And the worst part about it is now I'm on the Washington bandwagon until the end of the season.
That's how I felt when our team got eliminated. I wanted to see your team do it, but for everything, Washington's the underdog in the playoffs right now, and it's hard not to want to have the Cinderella story take place with them.
Hi, Derek. Get that shit out of here, bro. You're my man, Randy, but I can't give you no more than that. That's it. That's all you're getting from me.
So, we saw what happened with New England. They were the first shoe to drop in the coaching carousel. How much of a difference will Vrabel make? And I think because of what we just talked about, the Patriots are going to spend money in free agency to make sure they look like they made the right move. And they're also going to, I don't know what they plan on doing. I hope they get an offensive lineman with that draft pick. There's a lot of talk about taking Travis Hunter, playing in that cold weather. I mean, that would be nice to have him and Christian Gonzalez on bookend cornerbacks. And also does he solve your problem at wide receiver? Because is he going to play two-way?
Third down receiver. But he's not playing every play.
But then you still need a true number one receiver because he's not your everyday wide receiver. They need a target for Drake May.
They have that guy in Cincinnati that's a free agent.
But guess what? Who's Mr. Butler's team? They got money too. He wants to win. Washington's showing they can win a lot quicker than New England. So I think Washington just became a high destination spot, which I'm happy. Mr. Butler, I'm happy because with your old ownership group, this would have never been a possibility. We're talking about how New England sabotaged their own team. The old owner you guys had made it almost impossible to be liked, impossible to win because you wouldn't get enough talent around them. They got a new ownership group came in. They made the right call at quarterback. He's part of it. I think there's 3 of them all together, but Magic was a part of it. But once that was the biggest free agent move they did. They got rid of the old ownership, that negative stereotype that he was casting over the league, some fresh blood, and they overachieved a little earlier than they were expected. But a lot of that was picking Mr. Daniels. I don't think any of us quite thought he would play as well as he did because outside of McLaurin, they didn't have a great offensive line. They didn't have an over-the-top running game. They didn't have a great the defense would, but he didn't have all the weapons he can. And I think somebody like a T. Higgins would love to consider the Commanders as his number one choice. And then you got him and McLaurin side by side.
That's tough.
And they might still go out and get another offensive lineman in free agency, and then whatever their draft pick is, they can put on defense.
That's a tough one too.
So I think Washington will be the Patriots' biggest, because the Patriots lost out on all the big name. Remember when Ayuk was going to get traded? I don't want to go to New England. And now with everything that happened, I don't know if I want to go to New England as a player because I'm like, what? I feel like their organization's in flux. Like, what are they doing? They hire a coach. They only give him 1 year. You know, they kind of backstab him. A lot of players are going to come in there next year. Watch. I think Higgins. Yeah, so do I, Randy. I really think Higgins is going to say, hey, Daniels, I'm coming down to help you. The only question I have is, will McLaurin's head stay?
New England has more money, though.
It doesn't matter. They had more money for Ayuk, and Ayuk didn't go there. I think.
But Ayuk was a trade.
I think he'll be happy. But the only thing is, Higgins wants to be the number one, and he wants to get paid.
And in Washington, he's not going to be the number one.
But I think the money's more valuable to him because
all right. So if the money,
because he knows he's not going to get what he wants.
There's more money in New England.
Washington has enough free agent money just to sign him, and if they have to chew some fat off the rest of that roster to make room for him, they will. But I think they'll find a way they'll come hard at T. Higgins, and then if the Patriots are able to get T. Higgins, then they can use their draft pick on offensive line. Now they've made their offensive line better, and they've gotten him a proven target rather than take a chance on one of these young guys in the draft, which they haven't had the greatest success drafting wide receivers. So I take Kelvin Banks from Texas and throw him on the offensive line and try to get Mr. Higgins on the outside. But I think the Commanders are going to be the biggest competition.
That's what Randy. That's what the Commanders have to do. They have to secure Terry. If they don't secure Terry, then
it's going to be interesting. So the Patriots made that move, and shortly thereafter, as soon as you guys were eliminated, we knew everybody was going to come hot and heavy for both of your coordinators. And I really felt this was going to be the year Ben Johnson left. And I think he made the right decision, but me and you are not happy with that decision for obvious reasons, because not only did he leave you, he's in our damn division, and he's going to make that team better. Who do you look forward to an easy win in our division next year? Because he's going to develop Caleb Williams. And he's doing the right thing and saying all the right thing. He got the fans involved. He's talked high about Caleb.
Here's the question. With Caleb Williams' attitude, do you think he can be developed?
Yes, because I think he believes in the guy that's coming in. He did good when he had Cliff Kingsbury at USC as the offensive coordinator.
That's when after he won the Heisman Trophy, his head just got so big.
It did.
And it's still so big.
But he also lost Jordan Addison, who he had that junior year. And they had a young dude that just transferred into the portal. The two brothers, one was a wide receiver. Maybe I don't. Oh no, wait a minute. He didn't play with them. But they didn't have somebody to replace Addison, as that number one for USC. Like Addison left and Williams was there another year.
So that I don't know. I don't.
I like this move for Caleb Williams because I think he'll respect Ben Johnson and his creativity, and Ben Johnson will design a game plan around Caleb Williams. Let's be real. Caleb Williams did not suck this year.
No, he didn't.
But he looked a little unsure.
Caleb Williams also has two definite guys that are Pro Bowlers.
But does Caleb Williams call the offense?
No.
I think Caleb Williams was misused. I don't think they played to his strengths. I don't think they called great game plans. With Ben Johnson coming in, I think that improves from the moment he walks through the door. He'll call a better game. And I think they'll get more. He ran for his life a lot. I think they're definitely drafting an offensive lineman. And I don't know how much money they got in free agency, but they might draft an offensive lineman and get an offensive lineman in free agency. And then there go the protection issues. Now he's got that extra half a second to a second to analyze the field. He doesn't have to run as much. He's not under pressure from the get-go, and he can utilize those wide receivers and wait for those routes to develop.
Holding the ball. He held the ball longer than any other quarterback in the league.
And you don't think Ben will work on that with him? Like,
you're going
to have to put an internal clock in your head and say, yo, 1, 2, 3, get the ball out, even if you got to throw it away. But I like Komet, who I think is very underrated. We know that their weapons, their running game has to be more consistent because they got Swift, right?
Yeah, he's not a.
They need to add somebody to that mix.
He's not an every down back.
Right.
But he's a back that can catch the ball.
Right, but they can get a running back in the 3rd or 4th round, as we've seen. They could get somebody to help Swift. But I think getting the offensive lineman to open up holes and to protect Caleb and to have Ben Johnson. Out of all the teams that were out there, I kept saying Chicago's the best fit for him. And people said, I think you might have been the one to say he won't stay in the division.
No, I said, I hope he don't stay.
I know I didn't want him to, but I thought that would still be the best place. But I said that elevates everything on offense about Chicago. And their defense was not bad this year.
No.
I'm curious to see who they hire as a defensive coordinator because that's not something Ben Johnson wants to worry about. So somebody who can scheme and get the most out of that defense. Maybe they grab a free agent that plugs a hole here and there, but their defense wasn't bad. Doesn't need a lot of work. That offensive line needs help, and Caleb processing the offense. He was a rookie. He made mistakes. I thought Jaden Daniels played a lot better.
Of course he did.
With less. And I don't know if Caleb Williams was the second best because Bo Nix played well. Drake May played well.
I put Bo Nix the second best.
And they both had less to work with than
Bo Nix killed it for Denver.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs.
Yep. And they didn't have a solid running game. But you know something? They made the playbook cater to his strengths. Short, intermediate passes. They didn't ask. So when they did go downfield, it was an element of surprise. He hit those once in a while, but the little dink and dunks over the middle that you had to keep defending for, and he was mobile.
Yeah, he was running quarterback at
mm-hmm. So you got those two hires. How do you think Ben Johnson? What type of success do you give Ben Johnson in his first year? Like, what's he going to bring to Chicago? Will it elevate their game in the first year? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in free agency, but just the Ben Johnson influence.
Obviously, it's going to bring morale up, but how just going to Chicago, it's a coaching carousel.
I think they've stopped that this year.
Coaches are in and out of there,
and they took chances on people who were like, who Eberflus?
Yeah, but coaches
Fox.
And I, not for nothing. This is Ben Johnson's first time being a head coach. It's not obviously it's not going to be easy. You're in a tough division.
Yeah. But he knows that division too. So being able to he'll know those defenses already. He's played against Detroit. I mean, he was on Detroit. He's played against Minnesota for a couple of years. He knows Green Bay very well. So his game planning against the teams in our division doesn't change because he's already been doing that.
But you don't have the Detroit Lions.
Not yet. But I think he's going to try to mimic. I think that's what I think he's going to go hard on. I think he's going to draft it on. That blueprint with Detroit. And I'll never forget when you drafted Sewell and you had the chance for what you call it. And I know you're a little
have the chance.
No, but
I wanted Chase.
You wanted Chase.
But Chase
he went a pick early.
Because they projected Sewell going to Cincinnati. And
they took Chase first.
And they grabbed Chase.
Because they already had T. Higgins. They said, why would they grab another wide receiver? But they played together in college. Yeah, so I know you wanted Chase really bad back then. And you got Sewell. But you already had one good offensive lineman on that. And then you got Ragnow in free agency, I think.
No, we drafted Ragnow.
As a center? I thought he came over from somewhere.
No, we drafted him.
Was the whole line built through the draft? Like you didn't get nobody?
Except for Glasgow.
Oh, Glasgow's the guy that came over from somebody. Yeah, all right. You're right.
And then the other guy came from Baltimore.
Not Zeitler. Yeah.
Zeitler came from Baltimore.
But you guys put a big symbol of importance on having a dominant offensive line that now can benefit the running game or the passing game or both. Now, once you added Montgomery and drafted Gibbs higher than people thought, you gave him the running game weapons, but you built that offensive line first. Then you brought in the two running backs, one in free agency and one through the draft. St. Brown was just great drafting because
we got him in the fourth.
Yeah, because nobody Nobody expected him to have that type of influence. That reminds me of when we drafted Stephon Diggs or something. Like you got a diamond in the rough later in the draft, and he turns into like a first round talent. But that's the only thing I say you got lucky in. But that's great drafting.
How about all pros 2 times?
Yeah, I give it I think he's one of the best route runners in the league. He always seems to get himself open,
and he don't drop the ball.
But that wasn't something that you was like he's going to put us over the hump. That was great drafting. That he fit into the game, and then I wasn't sold on your coach being the coach because he had no experience before, and I was like, oh, I don't know how this guy's going to do, but he's a great motivator.
He was an interim head coach for Miami.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if he was ready to make that type of.
Nobody was.
Yeah, but everything came together. But I think Ben Johnson is going to use the Detroit game plan. I think the first thing he does is solidify that offensive line. Because he can game plan with what he got there for the weapons. He's got some weapons there. He can and I think Chicago will be a free agent destination too. I don't know what they got for cap money because they spent money re-signing one of their young defensive backs last year, and they signed money with the guy they got from Washington in the trade. Was it Sweat? Yeah. So they got a little bit of money invested into the defense. So I don't know where they stand free agent wise. Nate Victor, are you out there?
He left.
Yeah, I don't know what Chicago has, but I think they're going to try to solidify that line.
They're going to have to. They have to.
And I think the blueprint is going to be copy what worked in Detroit, and then it will become down to can I out scheme my old team. But I think that makes our division so difficult. You don't got that last place cellar dweller that you say, well, we'll get 2 wins against them guys. Even this year, the Bears weren't an easy out. The Bears lost against Minnesota, mismanaging the clock. They cost themselves some victories. They could have had 2 or 3 more victories, but they didn't know how to do it.
They should have beat Washington. They lost in the Hail Mary.
Yeah, so the Hail Mary.
The damn cornerback wanted to put his hand up and mess with the fans when the place went on.
But they also messed up against my Vikings. I'm trying to remember, but they had the Vikings. It was coming down the wire, and they made some type of critical, I think, a time management thing against Minnesota. Yeah. But they could have won 2 out of 3 of those games or all 3 of those games.
They should have beat Green Bay.
So that's coaching to me.
Yeah.
Except for the defensive guy. That was something that was just stupidity.
They should have beat Green Bay. Well, Green Bay, they lost. They lost to you on a field goal, last second field goal.
Yeah, but they came back on us, and we had to get that last second field goal.
They lost to Green Bay because Green Bay blocked a field goal to win the game.
Maybe.
And they lost to us on dumb time management.
But those are winnable games. That's what I'm saying. They're not horrible. They could have had possibly all 3 of those games if they would have. So if Ben Johnson can just be a better decision maker, that will help him. He's going to add talent through the draft and free agency. I guarantee it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
So those 2 coaching things happened right away. Now, the third coaching job was your defensive coordinator, who has a little bit of a homecoming. So, but you know what's interesting to me?
Going to go to Saints.
That's what people were saying. The Saints wanted him. Jacksonville wanted him.
He played in New York and
but the fact that he was the number 1 draft pick for the Jets back in the day, he got his start in coaching with the Jets after his playing days. They put him on a scout team, and then his career in coaching took off with a little alley-oop from the Jets. So this is like a throwback, and I think that was the main reason. But the other thing I want to say, he turned down the Jacksonville job. I don't know if he already had made up his mind he wanted the Jets. The offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, who did a great job this year, after Ben Johnson, he was the second hottest offensive coordinator. He turned down Jacksonville. Why? Because they wouldn't fire Balky, the GM. So they kept him, and all 3 candidates they wanted walked away from consideration on that job because they don't want to work with Balky. Now Jacksonville knows they lost the Tampa Bay guy and they lost Aaron Glenn. Too much, too little, too late. Now they fired a GM, which is the reason that nobody wanted to take that job. So they shot themselves in the leg, and I think they're going to
go get Salah.
Well, that's the rumor that came out now. But Salah's only interested because now they got rid of. So they had to make that move
I
in order for Saleh to
I
feel.
would have loved to see Salah in Detroit, but I think
Yeah, but as a coordinator, he's going to get another chance as a head coach, which I believe he should. I thought he got a bum deal in New York.
his deal was just as bad as Nails.
Yep, but I thought that the Jacksonville job and the Raiders job, because of the way their organizations are run, were going to be the two hottest to fill for head coaching, because it's been a carousel for the Raiders too. There's no consistency.
They don't have nobody yet.
They don't even have a quarterback. Like, they hired the general manager. He was the assistant general manager for another team. Was it Tampa? But they hired somebody's assistant general manager and made him the general manager. Now it's his job. But you've already lost the top three candidates off the board. So now Saleh, who you just mentioned, is going to be the hot find. But I go to Jacksonville before I go to the Raiders, because I know the owner will do his part. The owner in Jacksonville, you know, he just gave too much trust in the GM, who was failing miserably, and he gave him too long of a leash. And that came back to bite him. But they said in Jacksonville that whoever they hire, the coach is going to have total control. That was a big issue why Aaron Glenn and all them didn't consider it, because they didn't want this GM who's failed making moves in the past costing them their job. Like, yo, you don't buy the right groceries, I can't cook type thing, you know? So I think Jacksonville and Saleh will be the next shoe to fall. Then you got the Saints and you got the Raiders. But who's the hot coaching prospect now? All the four hottest ones on the market are going to be gone. I think they're going to be stuck with some first time.
Now,
unless Pete Carroll gets hired at 89 years old.
Oh, yeah. But I knew Rex Ryan threw his hat.
Yeah, but Rex Ryan and Pete Carroll, their time has come.
Like, I think Rex Ryan would still be a good defensive coordinator.
I don't think he should be running the show. I think he could be a coordinator if he wants to get back in. But I don't think he should be a head coach. He's not going to be around long term. He can't build with a Rex Ryan or Pete Carroll right now.
He knows the game.
That's a Band-Aid, because you know neither one of those guys physically and age-wise, they're not going to be around to develop a team and have – those teams aren't going to win right away. It's going to take 2 or 3 years of free agency pickups and drafting right. And they don't have that type of patience. Those coaches are too old to sit through that type of rebuild. So who would be the next coach? Do you see anybody that has the lead to be the Raiders coach? I think the Saints will fill the position before the Raiders now. I think Jacksonville is going to be the next one, and they're going to take Saleh. So considering he might be off the board, who gets the job in either the Saints? Because they wanted Glenn.
But my thing with the Raiders, they have a lot of money to throw. And Tom Brady.
And they got a new GM, so it might be.
Tom Brady being that.
That's attractive.
Yeah. I forgot about Kellen Moore too.
Kellen Moore. Oh, we forgot about Dallas's opening. That's open too. That's going to be hard to fill.
Is he head coach material? Kellen Moore.
No, but guess why he fits Dallas? Because he was there before. He's going to do what Jerry tells him to do, and he's going to be happy. Yep, he's going to be the happy. Now, he's a creative mind. As far as offense goes, I didn't think he was was he the offensive coordinator there? Yeah. I think he did well in his position as the offensive coordinator. But it's going to take more than that, because that situation might be the toughest one to fill because of the Jerry factor.
Yeah.
And even when we talk to all our Cowboy friends, where's B-Mag? I know you're out there somewhere, B-Mag. What's going to happen in Dallas? Is Kellen Moore somebody you guys are rooting for? Where's not Randy? Paul, you're still on there? What's going to happen in Big D?
You don't want to talk
and
about
out of the people that are available, who are the viable choices to fill the Cowboy vacancy? Because that's a big voodoo to walk into that situation with the shadow of Jerry Jones lingering, hovering over you.
Tony Romo. I don't know. But
I think Dallas needs to get a big name splash coach that knows what he's doing, and Jerry has to back off, because the NFL needs that market to be big. Like the NFL as a whole is better when Dallas is a good team competing. That market's very critical to the success of the NFL. And I think they have talent.
I don't agree with that.
You don't think so?
I don't agree with that.
I think when Dallas and Pittsburgh are good, because of the old school tradition, that just like
I don't think that makes the NFL better. If they're good.
Only because of their rabid fan bases and the ratings. And when those teams are good, the ratings go up because they got such huge fan bases. Jerry makes it unattractive. Three positions have been filled, and we think Salah's going to go to Jacksonville. So now does Dallas? Come on, people that are out there, let us hear from you. Who fills the next head position? Dallas, the Saints, or the Raiders? I don't see anybody beating down the doors for all three of them, but is any one of those jobs better than the others? Because let's take a look at the Saints. What do they have to offer? Their key players are getting kind of old with Kamara. I think their defense is not bad. I think they had a few key. They need to rebuild their offensive line. They got Olave.
They don't have a quarterback.
They don't have a quarterback.
They have Carr, but he's
Kamara doesn't have much tread left on the tires. They need a quarterback. They need an offensive lineman. Their offense is going to be tough to rebuild right away. Their defense, if they play it right, can keep them close. But their offense is going to struggle to score. They may just, build up the defense or draft an offensive lineman and wait and hope next year they can find their quarterback. But then again, everybody says there's only two good quarterbacks in the draft, but maybe they can take a chance in the second round on somebody like a Quinn Ewers who now went, or my favorite underrated person in the draft this year, somebody like Jackson Dott of Mississippi. Maybe they could take a chance and get lightning in a bottle with one of them. I think I like Jackson Dott better than Quinn Ewers. But that's their only option at quarterback is maybe they get lucky what Tennessee tried to do with Will Levis, and he's serviceable for a while, see what he got. But build up everything around him and then go get your quarterback when you got the line and you got the weapons. Well, which position, if you're a head coach, are you taking first out of those three?
Me personally, probably the Raiders.
Because of the Tom Brady effect. New general manager.
And I think Tom's going to bring players in. Just because it's Tom.
And the Raiders have, what, the 5th pick? Or did they slide? No, I think they got the 6th pick because they won the last game. They went from 2 to 6.
Yeah, 6.
So where are they looking at 6? Because I know they want Shador Stevens really bad, but unless they trade up and mortgage the future.
Shador Sanders.
What did I say, the boxer? Yeah, I just thought about that when I heard Stevens. I was like, yo, Frank Reich is still out there. Does old Jacksonville coach?
No, who's that? Indy?
Oh, Indy. Peterson's the Jacksonville coach. Peterson's out there too. I don't know if I want either one of them guys. Is there another hot coordinator that's out there because Tampa Bay re-signed theirs. They redid his deal to stay. He's the highest paid offensive coordinator now.
There's a guy out there.
Offensive coordinator or defense?
Defense.
Yeah, Flores is staying with Ben.
Flores is going to be in Jacksonville.
No. It's already been said. When I was reading the Minnesota sites, the jobs they were worried about were the Jets and somebody else, and they got filled. The Jets and the Bears. Those were the two jobs that made sense for Flores. He would have been another guy staying in the division. And when those didn't happen, they said the other teams don't really have an interest in him. It's not mutual, that he'll most likely have another year as a coordinator, which is great for me because I want him to continue to build 3 years with it. If he leaves after next year, he's left us with a foundation and a game plan. I think another year with him would do wonders for us. So you like the Raiders mainly because of the Tom Brady effect, more so than the new GM. But they need a running back. They need a lot on offense. I don't think Devontae Adams is staying. And maybe you try to get whatever you can get for him during draft night, and start new and lower your payroll.
You try to throw the Herschel Walker effect.
Just don't come to Minnesota with that stuff. Every time you and Brian talk about Herschel Walker, man, I start getting lightheaded. My knees start wobbling because I think about all those all pros Dallas got in that deal. And how long it took us to recover because he didn't pan out, and then we didn't have no draft picks for like 5 years.
Yeah, that was nuts, man.
I think I went through my whole high school life without a draft pick into college. I was like, I didn't even watch the draft for like 6 years. Yeah, like, well, we got a 4th round pick.
I watched the draft on day 4.
I couldn't even turn it on until the draft was Thursday night. I couldn't even turn it on until like Saturday afternoon. Like, oh, it's round 6. Oh, I think we got a draft pick. So the first 3 spots have been taken. We assume the 4th spot's getting ready to close. There were 7 altogether, and then you got those 3 teams. You're saying the Raiders. I don't know what's going to happen in the other 2 spots, but we'll see what happens. Anything else football-wise? We made our predictions for the NFL. We've talked about the head coaching carousel. What other news do we got in the way of sports? The BCS championship. So
we had Notre Dame versus Ohio State on Monday night.
How did it play out to you? Was it competitive? Was it worth to watch?
I thought it was an okay game.
It started off bad, but Notre Dame got in the groove later.
I didn't expect Notre Dame to go that far. I didn't. They
only played that one bad game against Northern Illinois, but then I felt like that lit a fire under them. But they didn't, like you pointed out last time we were on, they didn't have a big strength of schedule to get excited about. Ooh, they beat so-and-so. Yeah. They beat the best teams they beat were once they got to the playoffs.
Yes.
But they were hot at the right time. Yeah. They had the running game going, but they never had a passing game. Riley Shepard, the quarterback that came over from Duke.
Yeah.
Great runner. Not known for being a great passer. They didn't have the threat of beating you in the passing game. They had a double-headed monster at the running game, and their quarterback also ran. Their defense played very well, but Ohio State was playing really good on offense by the time they got to the playoffs.
Yeah, Ohio State.
They took their offense to another level. The freshman didn't even have to do much. All the stuff he did there, but both running backs, Judkins and the guy that came in for him when he got Judkins came in for who was the number 1 running back? But they had 2 1A and 1B running backs that did real well in the running game. Their quarterback did not hurt themselves. The kid that came over from Kansas State, Will Howard.
Yeah.
Will Howard.
That was the quarterback for Ohio State.
Yeah, but he came over from Kansas State. He was in a transfer portal. That was his only year at Ohio State. They lost Kyle McCord, who did very good at the Qs.
Yes.
He could be a sleeper in the draft. Who knows? But he came over. He didn't hurt himself. Going into the year, we knew they had a heralded freshman, but they still had Emeka. How do you say his name? But he was their number 1 wide receiver, and then the freshman kind of stole some. But my point is they had talent. Buka. But they had him. They had all the attention that the freshman was generating.
Smith.
Yep. They had the 2 running backs. They had a solid off, and then their defense stepped up with Jack Slayer at linebacker. Like that game 2 games ago where Slayer got the big turnover. They were putting pressure. Jack Sawyer. But there was another guy, and then they have a defensive back who's one of the best in the country. But my point was they had a great edge rusher. They had a great interior lineman. They had the guy on the back end that was the safety, I think. That's going to be a top 10 or 12 pick in the NFL draft. But their defense played at another level. Everybody did. Their offense, their quarterback, they all stepped it up in the playoffs. And the coach has been there before. The coach unduly took a lot of pounding when they lost to If they would have fired him after that Michigan game, they wouldn't be enjoying this national title because he's a good coach.
Yes.
And I hope that gets all the noise and chatter out of the background. He's a good coach. You're going to win some and you're going to lose some. That's a rivalry game. So you throw the records out when you play that game. And Michigan got them. But that's so heated that losing to Michigan is just horrible. Yeah, that's just
maybe even 3.
That game is bigger than the playoffs in some.
I don't think this guy did.
Yeah, he has. Ryan Day? Nah, he's beaten him. He just hasn't beaten him recently. I think the last 2 years. He's been the coach since Mr. Controversy stepped down as the head coach. But I think he's been there like 4 years. I know they've beaten him.
He was 1-4 against Michigan.
Worse than I thought. I thought he might have been like 2-3 or something like that.
1-4.
That's bad enough. But that conversation starts and ends when you're the Ohio State coaching job. First thing is beat Michigan. 2, be competitive for a national championship. But you better beat Michigan because that recruiting battle is huge. That rivalry is huge. All people care about is beat Michigan. Even in the offseason, they're talking about Michigan. So getting back to the game, what did Ohio State do or what did Notre Dame not do that led to the outcome that we witnessed?
Ohio State played well. Michigan.
In all aspects.
Ohio State started out fast. Michigan, not so much. I mean,
I'm saying Michigan wasn't there.
Notre Dame, not so much.
I'm allowed to say that stuff because I'm old. You don't get to do it.
Well, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, I know. I was talking about the boxer Shidor Stevens. I knew it started with an S. They just had to jab their way at quarterback a little longer.
Yeah, I don't like.
They've already installed Ohio State as the number 1 seed going into next year. We don't even know who their damn quarterback's going to be because the kid that was a freshman last year that was supposed to be waiting in the wings left in the transfer protocol because he didn't get to play. Air, whatever his name was. So I don't even know who's going to take over the helm. If there's somebody coming down the transfer portal that we don't know of, do they have somebody in the system they believe in? I don't know if their running backs are seniors or both of them are seniors, but I think Jack Slayer's gone. I know the defensive back's gone. I think that the defensive interior lineman is gone. They're going to have to rebuild, which, I'm pretty sure they got some 5-star blue chippers sitting on the bench like Alabama does every year we haven't heard of, or Georgia. Like them guys, they just seem to restock. There's somebody there.
Jenkins is
Judkins,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then I forgot the name of the other running back. And there was a big controversy at the beginning of the year that one of the running backs was talking about he was ready to go into the transfer portal because he didn't want to split time. One of them was a senior because one of them was going into their senior year. It's not Judkins. It's the other one who was the 1A one. And he had a heart-to-heart with Ryan Day, and he said, Coach, I love Ohio State, and I want to win. I'm not happy with the decision to split time in my senior year. I've waited my turn all this time, but he did play as a junior, and he split time with Judkins, and it turned out to be the best. They kept him fresh. He did get hurt, and when he got hurt, Judkins stepped in admirably, but when he came back and they had both running backs healthy, that really, really added.
Trayvon Henderson?
Henderson was the number 1.
He's a senior.
Yeah, he's the one that had the conversation with the coach. Judkins
is a junior.
Yeah, so Judkins, they were saying he had another year. Why am I splitting time with him? I should be the feature back. He'll have his shot next year. And they told him it's best for the team that we use both of you. Like, use them both. And he was like, I waited my turn, and now you're going to have me split time. And he bought in. And Ryan Day did a good job of talking him off the ledge, and he bought into the team concept, and it worked out great for him.
They got 3 freshmen running backs that are waiting in the wings.
And whoever got recruited this year. There's some guys that might not make it off the practice squad next year. Like, they'll be on the spring team, and they're like, well, you're not going to get no burn. There's 3 freshmen this year ahead of you, plus the guy that's going to be the senior. And then you got to compete with whoever we're bringing in this year. I know they didn't stop recruiting. Just be curious to see who gets the quarterback nod up there. But overall, Notre Dame came back in the game to make it watchable because at the beginning, they scored first, though. Notre Dame scored first because I remember
the Lincoln Kindhouse.
Who's that?
He was
Potential quarterback?
He was a sophomore quarterback.
I don't know enough about him. That's what I'm saying. They might have somebody waiting in the wings, somebody coming into the transfer portal.
There's a bunch of quarterbacks. This is nice.
But the kid that was the heralded freshman last year, Air, whatever his name is, he left. He left. He went to another school.
Julian,
it was him and the other Air somebody. They were both 2 big name quarterbacks.
Julian Sayin, freshman.
But the other one left. Julian stayed.
I don't know, man.
But, I mean, college football's over. I'm glad there was no injuries in any of the bowl games because I'm so tired of watching. And that's the thing, the playoff format helped.
He's a 5-star prospect who transferred from Alabama.
So probably should be.
Oh, he transferred in, but Air whatever transferred out. So he just took the spot of the Air whatever kid.
Oh, but they also had Devin Brown and Air Nolan
He transferred out.
entered the transfer.
Yeah.
3 days ago. Oh no,
No, that's old. He did that like 2 weeks
No,
ago.
I'm saying this was posted 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm. But Air, whatever, he did it before the championship game because he wasn't going to play anyway. But he made his intentions known. But yeah, they did get the kid from Alabama. Yeah.
He still gets a ring because he was on the roster.
So college football's over. I think the playoff format helped with keeping the kids that were pro eligible to play because if you weren't playing in a major bowl, these guys were sitting out the bowl games, and us as fans were getting robbed of seeing these great games. You know,
And the only one that made not made the kids, but had the kids playing the bowl was Colorado, if I'm not mistaken.
that wasn't in a major bowl. Yes, Colorado's kids did play. So that brings an end to our college football season. We'll see what happens with the NFL. What else we got going on? Oh, there's that guy again, Mr. Controversy. Just real quick. There's not a lot to talk about.
Right now I have no respect for him.
But he came back. I felt like he gave his effort. I don't know what led to him missing a team flight though.
Missed the team playing, bro.
Yeah, that sends the wrong message.
You're in hot water already. Well, it's not hot water, but we're showing bad blood already.
But Miami is in a bad spot because his value is going down because he's already said he's going to opt out and he wants more money. He's aging. Now he's becoming a headache. We've seen this play out with every other team Jimmy Butler's been on. He's become a cancer. Still a talented player, but when he's not happy, he does stuff to hurt the team.
Honestly,
I don't know what they're going to get back. There's a rumor out there involving my Bucks, though.
If I'm Miami and this dude's being like this, I suspend him. If we can't get nothing from him because of the shit that you're putting, I suspend you for.
And he said, "I'll only accept the trade to Phoenix."
I'll suspend you for the rest of the year. You don't get paid. You don't get paid, and
you're not going to resign anyway. You're going to opt out.
Yeah, you're not helping us. You're hurting us.
And then he can negotiate whatever contract he wants. But from what was said, everybody knows he wants to go to Phoenix. But in order for that to happen, Bradley Beal has to be involved. Bradley Beal has a no-trade contract. So that's where Milwaukee comes in. Milwaukee's trying to get rid of Chris Middleton. So they're talking about
Bradley Beal would be good for us.
Yes, because he'll play. He's younger than Chris Middleton and he's healthy. Chris Middleton's been hurt for the better part of 2.5 years. So our big three is not there. I had so much love and respect for Chris Middleton, but if you're not available to play, you're not helping us. I would like to see what would happen with a backcourt with Dame Lillard and Bradley Beal with the Greek Freak down low. I don't know how much our team would get gutted making that move, but they said if Bradley Beal was to go to Milwaukee and Jimmy Butler was to go to Phoenix, and then Phoenix was going to give a bunch of draft picks and I forgot who else back to Miami. But it was going to be a three-way. Oh, Chris Middleton was going to go to Miami. And then along with the draft picks, Chris Middleton makes a pretty decent amount of money for somebody who's not playing too. He just renegotiated his contract. I want to say he's up in the high 20s or $30 million a year, or something ridiculous like that. But Miami doesn't get better right away this year because we don't know if Middleton can play. There's not another impact player that I've heard mentioned that'll help this year, but they will get draft picks. They will get some financial flexibility to go into free agency this upcoming year because you got Jimmy Butler's contract off the books. But now you're down to Tyler Hero and Bam, and that's not enough to make a playoff run. And they're like 5th or 6th in the playoff in the Eastern Conference right now. But where's Pat Riley's hands are tied? How do you handle it? You're Pat Riley. You said you'd suspend him, but that's not helping you stay in the playoffs because you're not getting nobody to replace him, and he's not helping you.
But he's not helping us by getting suspended all the time. And
but you're gonna lose him for free. I'd rather at least get the draft picks or get somebody who can try to help us. But him sitting there is nothing.
Why reward him if he's?
What's the greater of two evils? You're hurting yourself by trying to send a message to him. All right, we suspend him for the rest of the year. So now we don't have Jimmy Butler and we don't have nobody replacing him, and we don't get nothing for him leaving. I lose all the way around. They're the number 6 seed right now.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. But with some other NBA news, I've heard your boy Zach LaVine's name come up.
I've heard that
2 different teams,
way too many times already.
and one of them's not the Lakers.
But honestly, I never let him go. But
What can you get back for him? Because I think the number 1 pursuer is Orlando Magic. They want him because they need outside shooting. They just got Banchero back. Remember, they made the playoffs last year when they were healthy. If Banchero didn't get hurt this year, we don't know where they'd be. But they got a nice little young core. They didn't have outside shooting. Banchero was do it all. He was their outside shooting. He was their penetrator. He was their rebound. They need somebody else to take the pressure off him. And LaVine can do that. He's still talented, so probably draft picks.
I know.
What does Chicago want? How much do they want for Zach LaVine, who is kind of in a dead-end situation with the Bulls right now? He's not going to be part of a rebuild. Chicago probably wants to get younger. I don't know what Orlando has to offer for somebody who's on their roster now that Chicago might be interested in. But do you like the potential of Zach LaVine going to Orlando, or do you see him being a better fit somewhere else? Because there's a couple of teams. I mean, Dallas still would like to get him.
I don't think he'll be a good fit in Dallas.
No, because they still got Klay Thompson. Houston was mentioned. I just think Orlando makes the best sense.
The better leadership, but he hasn't won anything either. Because Houston, that roster's tough.
And I don't think Houston wants to gut their roster by giving up some of their young picks. But you know something? Houston still has a gazillion draft picks. And them and OKC and now Utah, because of Danny, all 3 of them teams have like every draft pick coming up for the next. It's going to be like we're going to keep hearing those 3 teams' names: Houston, Utah, OKC. OKC's the number 1 or number 2 team in the West right now, and they still got a ton of. Which is why they got rid of Josh Giddey last year, because they had the luxury of drafting excess players, just best player available. Let's see what we got, and let's see. Josh Giddey was playing well, but now he got to the point he wanted to get paid. Nah, we got Jalen Williams and somebody else, and we'd rather pay them guys. They're not on their big contracts yet. We'll let Giddey go. They traded him to Chicago. They got Caruso back, but they got other people to fill their role, and they got more draft picks to reload. Josh Giddey wasn't going to be a starter in OKC, and that was the main. He wanted a chance to start, and he wanted to get paid. So we got that in Chicago. But that remains to be seen, man. But anybody else on the trade block? Because the trade deadline's not too far down the road for the NBA. Less than a month, I think. Or is it mid-February?
I'm not sure. I think it's in the middle of February. Around Valentine's.
Right after the All-Star game, I believe.
It's around Valentine's Day, I believe. Around that time.
So basically, you got 3 weeks. You know, there's some other rumored trades that are going to go down, but I think the Zach LaVine thing will be huge. We'll keep our eye on the Jimmy Butler situation. Brandon Ingram, I heard. I would rather trade Zion because I think you get more for him. And I think at least Ingram is going to be capable of playing more often than Zion. And I think you can get more for Zion because, I don't think the Knicks are going to be interested no more because they got 2 forwards last year. I think they're all set with that. But that was his number 1 destination. I don't know where he'd go and what they'd get back for him. But I would keep Ingram and trade Zion if I was that organization right now. Anybody else on the move in the NBA? Any other names we can think of? I think that's pretty much it for the NBA as far as the trade rumors go. But there's another topic I wanted to bring up real quick. In boxing, it's all but secured that Canelo and Crawford are going to fight. And the rest of that card looks crazy. Now, I can't say Shador Stevens now.
With the potential of that card, yeah. That's
that card from top to bottom are all fights that you'd be interested in seeing. I can't remember the last time I watched a boxing card where I was excited about so many fights.
But think about it like this, right? With all those big names, that's gonna be like $150.
That's worth Would you pay $150 to go see it live? Yeah, because those tickets are way more than that. To see that many good fights in one night, but to have just one fight and it's $100, So you're gonna tell me I'm gonna see the Crawford Alvarez fight? I'm gonna see Shador Stevens fight. Well, his opponent keeps going back and forth, but then was Ryan Garcia going to be on that card against Rolly Romero now?
His year won't be up yet. He got a year suspension. I don't think
It'll be up. They were talking about they just arranged the fight for him because they're saying that fight's not going to happen till May or September. When did
I don't remember, but I don't think
he can't fight, but they can sign the fight as long as that fight doesn't happen
I don't-
until that year's over.
I don't know if they can do that.
And then there was the heavyweight fight, Joshua Wilder, I think. But there was like 5 good fights on that
A lot
card.
of those fights are speculation though right now, but it has the potential.
So let's just look at the main one that we know is probably going to definitely happen. Does Crawford have a chance against Alvarez?
I think so.
I think he's smart enough and crafty enough, but I think taking that type of pounding from somebody that much heavier will wear you down after a while.
They got there's a catch rate.
168.
Is it 168?
But that's the way, and there's no rehydration cause. So he can come in at 168 and fight at 185.
Yes.
Crawford has never been a big, heavy fighter. He's probably not even going to come in at 168. He's probably going to come in at like 164. That would be the highest he's ever fought at. But I can't see him. So for all intents and purposes, it could be a 20-pound difference. Canelo could come in at 184, and Crawford could fight at 164. Is that 20-pound difference too much to overcome? And can Crawford be crafty enough to outbox? I think he could outbox Canelo, but I think Canelo will apply severe pressure. And I don't know if Crawford has the power to make Canelo stop charging him. I don't know if he can knock out somebody 20 pounds heavier than him. So I don't know if Alvarez will have any respect for his punching power, because with that much of a difference, that's going to be hard.
That's gonna be a tough one, man.
I don't know. We'll see. So one other topic I wanted to squeeze in. You see what's going on with free agency and the Dodgers? Every free agent is going to the Dodgers. Like,
They got a cheat code.
they already won the championship, and now they can go out and buy everybody out there. I think it's the owner of Baltimore called for it yesterday. Baseball needs a salary cap. Baltimore cannot compete with LA in the market. If it's just going to be survival of it, they got the biggest TV contract. They got one of the biggest stadiums. Like, everything's in there. They got the most endorsement deals.
The Yankees can't even compete.
Yeah, and the Yankees were the big bully on the block forever. But the way the Dodgers are outspending, I think the Yankees could, if they wanted, the Mets, I think, are going to try, because their owner has been like, I'm going to open up and spend money no matter what, which is how they got Soto. But I think there needs to be some type of salary cap, because I think you can spend as much as you want, but you pay a luxury tax. But spend with it. Hey, didn't somebody we mentioned earlier as being part of the Commanders ownership group? Isn't he part of the
Dodgers?
doing pretty good in 2 places, huh?
Yeah.
So Magic's also involved as ownership group of the Dodgers.
Yep.
And I'm sure his voice in the room is being heard a lot. And he's like, we just want to be the best. Do whatever it takes to be the best. If you win, it's worth spending the money, because they're making billions. They're still going to make money, but it's more important to win. The Yankees and the Mets are the only 2 teams that I think can keep up with what the Dodgers are doing. I don't think the Atlantas and the San Franciscos or even the Red Sox can try to spend with the type of money. And if you give a team that much of an unfair advantage, the other teams can't get better if the free agent you're looking for, the Japanese pitcher, went over there. The top closer went over there. They maintained Teoscar Hernandez, who I wanted to go to the Red Sox. He stayed there. They didn't lose no free agents.
They have a starting 7.
But they can never stay healthy, so I think that's what they're banking on. Oh, they lost Walker Buehler, but he's been hurt for them. Oh, he went to the Red Sox. But they didn't really lose anybody that was going to affect their everyday play. They re-signed all their own free agents, and they re-signed all the top free agents that were out there.
And they haven't even had the best pitcher.
Oh wait, they got Blake Snell too.
Yeah, they haven't even had the best pitcher in the league step on the mound yet. And he was a 50-50 guy the year before.
Yep.
MVP of the national.
But that's a part of why I think they went out and got Blake Snell and signed the Jack. They don't have to put a lot of innings on Ohtani this year. Yes, he's capable, but you can pitch him every 7 days because he doesn't have to be your ace. Blake Snell's the clear-cut number one. The Japanese guy they signed is not ready to step in and be a top-of-the-line rotation. They say he's a project. They got him for short money because he wasn't eligible to go into the big spending spree free agency because he doesn't have enough years of service in the Japanese league. So he has to play basically on a big minor league contract, and he has to prove himself. He's not eligible for like 5 or 6 years or something like that to get big money. So he's not going to be at the top, but he was still highly sought after. Don't they have another Japanese pitcher on their roster besides Ohtani and that guy, Rosaki? And they got Blake Snell. But they got another person that was kind of hurt off and on besides Buehler. That there's another big name on that pitching staff I just can't think of. And then they got the best closer and the best setup guy. They just signed a setup guy yesterday who was supposed to be the best eighth inning guy, and they already got the best closer on the market. That's just the rich get richer. But I think it's about time Major League Baseball looks into that. They thought there was some type of tampering with the Japanese free agent that came over, but that came out kind of quick and got squashed. That there was no influence from Ohtani or anybody else. But it seems like everybody that comes over from Japan wants to go to LA because of the market and the closeness and proximity to Japan, because people forget on the West Coast, they're actually closer to Japan than we are on the East Coast.
This is just not our feelings.
That's not who I'm thinking of. That's the pitching staff for the Dodgers. There's somebody else who was their ace last year, even though Ohtani wasn't going to pitch. Buehler was going to be out most.
Tyler Glasnow?
Yeah, Tyler Glasnow. He'd be an ace on somebody else's staff. He was their big signing like 2 years ago. He had some injury problems. So if Blake Snell, Glasnow, Ohtani, that's the other guy. I said there was another Japanese guy on there, but I was calling out the one of the name on the Dodgers, on the Mets, Sengi or Sengu or something. But that's the guy. So like you said, they got a starting 7. But Ohtani's going to pitch once every 7 days because they're not going to have to put too much stress on him. Yeah. But they'll let him ease back. They're not expecting him to take the mound every 5th day. They might even skip him in the rotation a few times, like, oh, somebody needs a break in the rotation. All right, we'll throw Ohtani in there, but they don't have to keep him in the rotation unless somebody goes down. That would be the smartest thing to do, which is why I think they went after Blake Snell. Yep. Make him the ace. Glasnow comes back. You got the other Japanese guy. And then you can slide in Ohtani as the 4th or 5th starter if you want. That other guy they just signed from Japan, I just think he's going to spot start or be middle relief. I don't think he's going to crack the rotation.
But he don't need to right now.
Exactly. But how does that help middle relief? Somebody gets knocked out in the 2nd or 3rd inning. You got a starter who's capable of eating up innings. He'll be that long middle relief guy. But my whole point is it's not fair for one team to keep getting all the free agents, man. It's just.
We're talking about all these other. We haven't even fucking mentioned Mookie Betts.
Yeah, the guys that they're old news. Him, Freeman.
Fucking MVP.
Yes, but they got him, Freeman, Ohtani. They got so many big name people on that team that all we can think about is the guys that they keep adding to it, and we forget they're already loaded. How much money are invested in those guys? I think they said there was $1.4 billion because Ohtani's got $750 million or something. Mookie, who we thought was a crazy contract back then when he left, was 400 and something. Freeman is the lowest paid out of all of them, and that's just their everyday players. Then they re-signed a second baseman, another Japanese name. They re-signed a second baseman that I want to say he's not a great hitter, but he's the best defensive second baseman. But whoever was the hottest prospect, I think he came over from Japan. But they got an infielder from Japan too. But they're set up to win, and even if they lose a couple of key pots, they still got enough key pots to keep going. Like they're the only team that can lose a Freeman. You look at what happened in Atlanta. They lost Okuna. They hung in there for a while, but they also lost Strider, the pitcher. They couldn't lose their best pitcher and their best offensive player and still perform at the level they needed to knock off the Dodgers. The Dodgers lost Freeman for a while, no problem. Mookie Betts will step up. Ohtani will step up. Teoscar Hernandez will step up. You had 3 or 4 or 5 other bats, that could carry you, So, yeah, everybody gets hurt by injury, but it doesn't affect the Dodgers as much because of their depth. One all-star after the other, so we'll see what happens there. But
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy.
I see it pulling up. Huh?
Rich,
Yep. It's pulling up on the 8 o'clock hour. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we get the hell out of here? Anything else happening in the world of sports?
Yo, I wanted to bring up the women's 3-on-3 league.
It's off to a good start.
That's crazy.
It's killing me though that Caitlin Clark is not playing, and they're still getting all the notoriety. They're still getting all the attention.
That's a good thing.
Teammates are playing against each other.
That's a good thing. I like it. I think it's very interesting. I watched a few games.
But the quote I saw from Caitlin Clark was very mature. I'm all right. She's making more money than these. She doesn't have to go overseas because with her endorsements and sneaker deal and all the money that she's making enough money. Let these girls shine. This is a first-year player who's stepping out of the limelight so that the rest of her the rest of the NBA, women can get their time to shine. And I'm so glad they don't have to go overseas and worry about playing in dangerous places like Israel and Russia and some of those other places. But I don't know if we have a team around here that like close enough that we could go see a game. Like I'm trying to think, Boston doesn't have a team, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York might be the closest place that we can go see a team. And I don't even know where the teams are located because they all got crazy sponsorship names.
Yeah, no.
It ain't like the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah, no.
Or like the Corpus, I'm like, what team is this?
I have to look into that. What's the name? Do you remember the name of the league?
Unrivaled. Just put women's 3-on-3 league. You're allowed to have 5 people on the roster, 2 subs. But I like the fact that you could be on the same team with a teammate, and now you're going to play against them in this league, or you get to play with somebody who you normally wouldn't get to play with because you got to pick your own team. But there was a little bit of other news too because 2 of the WNBA stars, how they have where you can franchise somebody in football.
Yeah.
I forgot what they call it in the WNBA, but 2 girls got that title. Sabu Sabale, who plays for the Dallas Stars right now, big talk. She wants to go join the Indiana Fever. She's a power forward, played at Oregon in college. She played with Sabrina Ionescu. She was the number 2, but she's a power forward. And she's one of the better power forwards in the league. Put her next to Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark. And if they keep Kennedy Mitchell,
They could be big.
they could be real good real quick with just that move. The other thing that happened in the WNBA though was Kennedy Carter, who's one of the more prolific scorers that was playing for the Chicago Sky and was going to be integral. They did not franchise her. They're allowing her to leave, and she's had some attitude problems with every team. She had with Atlanta. She got into a fight with a teammate. She was released. She went to another team, maybe Phoenix or something, but she's had some teammate issues and some fitting in well with other teams. Like she's had some attitude issues, and I don't know. I didn't hear much about that, but she averaged like 20 a game, and she's over in China averaging like 35 right now. How do you just let her walk? And how do you replace her?
Attitude.
The attitude is overshining her talent because talent-wise, she's one of the more talented people. But Chicago has a new coach. They're building around their 2 big people, Angel Reese and the Cardoza, and they had her. and they're willing to let her go. They're not getting nothing of it. So they got to be big players in the free agent market. There's got to be somebody out there they're trying to get, because you don't just give up 20 points a game, but she must not have blended in well with the teammates. There was a lot of tension with her and the coach, which is why the coach was let go.
Yeah.
But now you're letting go the player and the coach.
Double whammy.
Yep, because everybody was saying that the coach was catering to Angel Reese with the double doubles, allowing her to play just to keep the streak. They got rid of, and the coach did a good job. I forgot her name. The black Teresa Edwards, was it? Yeah. I thought she did a good job, but they said her relationship with Angel Reese was kind of suspect because they thought she got preferential treatment that made some of the other players. But now you got rid of the coach. You got rid of one. She was probably the leading scorer, Kennedy Carter. So we'll see what happens with that. But
those games are played in Miami.
All of them?
Yep. So according to the right.
So it's like when they played in the bubble in the NBA, they just all stay in one spot and play. Yeah, what a tough place to have to play like the next 6 weeks, huh? Stay in Miami for the winter. Well, that's a good move because you can go down there and rent for like 2 months, 3 months. You don't have to worry about, it's like an extended winter vacation. You don't have to worry about dealing with cold weather. You know how much these teams are saving on travel expenses? There's only 5 girls on each team. It's kind of hard to hire a private jet to go from here to there or whatever. But the funny thing is, this league's going to end around the same time college basketball is going to end. And unlike the NBA, the WNBA draft is like 2 weeks or a week after the season.
I think it's
so this will buy us some time in the professional ranks. We'll also have the women's, which is, there's a big game on tomorrow that was supposed to be tonight, but it snowed in New Orleans. LSU is playing South Carolina. It was supposed to be tonight, which I think it was going to start at 7. I said, I'll catch the second half of it. Now it's at 5:00 tomorrow. They did that a lot with the WNBA games. I don't know if you noticed in the summer. They played in the morning. I'd get up. It'd be like 2:00 in the afternoon. I'd say, those are the games. They already played. It was at noon.
Yeah.
We're working. You come home at 2, 3 o'clock and you're like, that game's already been played. Like, it was hard to watch, but those were the time slots that all those games were playing at. So
now we bringing up college basketball. Don Staley's contract.
That's something that I wanted to bring on. I'm glad you brought that up. Don Staley, and rightfully so, is now the highest paid coach, male or female. I think she's getting
25,
$8 million a year. Yeah, it's 25 for 3 years, so it's a little more than $8 million. Gino was making like $7 million. She surpassed Gino Auriemma as the highest priced coach. But that's good because when she went to South Carolina, they weren't known for having she had to build that program. She had to recruit at that program. This is years and years and years of building that program to now you're a national power. You didn't inherit none, and Gino didn't inherit a powerhouse at UConn.
No.
But mainly because of injuries, Gino Auriemma hasn't had the success that South Carolina's had recently. South Carolina's been in the championship every year. I don't want to make excuses because Don Staley's a great coach. But when you lose a Paige Beckers, you lose a Ozzie Fudd, you lose, so much talent that UConn had. Matter of fact, UConn just got a girl back. She's only been back 2 games from injury. I think she plays forward. But she's coming off the bench, but she was supposed to be really, really good. And then they got the freshman who's playing out of the world, Sarah Strong. But if they can keep their backcourt with Paige Beckers, who they already had a scale with, they're going to be a tough out. Like, I'm going to roll with UConn. I like Notre Dame a lot, too, though. I just think that all 3 of them, with Hidalgo and Olivia Miles. And she was out all last year. And then they got the Spanish girl, Citron. And then they got a big that just came back, the girl from Canada. So I'm excited about women's college basketball. And we'll probably talk a lot more about both men's and women's going into it because football is winding down. We'll only have the Super Bowl. Is there a 2-week break after this week, or do they play with only 1 week off now? Because the Super Bowl is February 8th week.
No, it's 2 weeks because the Pro Bowl's in between.
Okay. So we're going to have 2 weeks with no football, women's and men's college basketball. We can talk about, there's no clear-cut runaway in either men's or women's. Iowa State was killing it. They lost last week in men's. Tennessee lost last week in men's. So there's no clear-cut dominant team. And it's the same. UCLA's been hanging on all year, But they got a big game I think they're playing the Rutgers girls today. I don't know if the point guard's back. The girl with all the handles that missed out against Juju, they're playing today. UCLA's playing Rutgers today. I don't know if that point guard's back, but if she's there, she's worth the price of admission. But there's been a lot of controversy with her calling out her coach. I don't think she's played since that suspension. I haven't heard her name. I'm going to go home and look for it, though, if you can find it on there. So I bet you the girl's not playing. Look at the box score.
51-31.
And if you give the names, I'll tell you if the girl's playing. I forgot her name, but I'll know it when I hear it.
Perkins, Lacey, Adams,
McMillan.
She's 3 of 12, 1 from 4. She was 8 points.
McMillan's the girl. So she is playing, but UCLA's packed.
She's not playing well.
No. Rutgers doesn't have a great team. She's the show. UCLA is number 1 in the country, and they got several people with the big girl bets and other girls that they got 3 or 4 girls to rely on for UCLA.
Jones, who has 12. Betts has 16. Jacques has 7.
Is that in the fourth quarter? Because they got 70 points.
No, 54-40.
Oh, 54-40. I thought you said 74 to 40 something.
54-40 right now. Third quarter, 6:30.
We'll see what happens. But I think we've covered everything we can cover this week, sir.
Yes, sir.
We'll have an interesting week in the NFL playoffs. We'll get some more clarity about those boxing matches that have been rumored to happen. You know, if something else becomes solidified, there should be some UFC news coming up. I don't think there's that many free agents in baseball because Santana just signed with Toronto. I don't think there's any other big names that we can hope the Red Sox get now. Mm-hmm. All the top pitchers and all the top hitters are off the market except for Bregman.
But he's getting old.
I hope they don't invest in him. I see that being Trevor Story all over again.
Yeah, he's getting old.
Yeah, he'll be hurt. He'll be collecting money, and I'll be like, I don't even think Story's going to play a lot this year. They got him penciled in the lineup. He might play the first month of the season, then he'll be out 3 months.
Yep.
So
he's not dependable in the Boston uniform.
All right. So the Buffett, thanks for tuning in and rocking out with us this Thursday night. We appreciate the love and support that you guys always show us. D-Con, anything you want to say to the people? Or? All right. Well, I do want to remind people that next Friday we'll have our next WMB1 comedy series going down at the Whaler Inn and Suites on Hathaway Road. Got a hell of a lineup. Kenny Williams is a beast, guys. Do yourself a favor. Come see this man. He's worth the price of admission by himself. But that's not all. We also got Peaches Rodriguez, who's performed at all the big comedy clubs all over the country. We've got our resident host, who I look forward to seeing every show, Chris Tabb. Yeah. Shout out to my man, Chris Tabb, man. He's become a crowd favorite. You put them 3 together, it's a can't miss show. Tickets are online at WNB1.com. As always, you can call any one of us to get tickets. I always have them on me. My number's on the flyer. And one more thing that's not sports related, I want to draw attention to the HBCU event that's being put on by Blair Taylor down at Andre McCoy Center. This will be their second year. I know they had a big turnout last year. For those of you who haven't made up your mind yet where you're going to school, just go check it out. See what the Black College experience is all about. If you haven't witnessed the atmosphere with the bands, with the sororities and the step shows, and more important, the type of funding that's available now, you can find out more information on scholarships that are available to attend these schools. I believe there's 10 to 12 schools that are coming. Saturday, February 15th, it's free. 11 to 2 at the Andre McCoy Center. And the makeup date, in case there's snow, is the 22nd, a week later. Both those dates bookend the week off we'll have from school. So we'll be out of school that whole week. So no matter what, it's going to be one of those two. Look for more information. I know at Great New Bedford Voc Tech, they've jumped on and they're promoting it, posters all over the school. New Bedford High, I'm hoping that, they can get the coverage out. I think Jordan Pena's handling that. But all the local high schools, anybody that knows if you got any Greek ties, if you were in a fraternity or sorority, come down and, rekindle some of your memories. Come check it out. It's something this area needs. a lot of people don't know what these historically black colleges can offer. Come down and spend a day with us on the 15th from 11 to 2. It's only 3 hours, but it'll be worth the free price of admission, and you walk away with a vast amount of knowledge of what these colleges offer, and it may be the difference in some of these young kids deciding where to continue their college education. So February 15th, HBCU event going down at the Andre McCoy Center. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. We're out of here. I got to go home and not watch any games because there's no games to watch now. No more Thursday night.
Yeah, I'll be easy, brother.